Welcome to the Fat Guys with Smokers podcast. I'm Mike.
And I'm John. We're a couple of overweight barbecue enthusiasts trying to share our love for sweet and smoky food with the world.
Thanks for hanging out with us as we talk about life, share recipes, successes, and failures that have all led to our love of cooking outdoors. Welcome everybody to Fat Guys with Smokers. I'm Mike, here with John. What's up, John?
Just another beautiful Saturday morning.
It is.
Hoping we don't float away.
Yeah.
We didn't get as much rain yesterday as I thought we were going to.
Yeah, but the wind, my smoker blew over.
Are you kidding
my
me?
200 or 300 pound Grilla silverback just tipped right over.
That's crazy, man.
I had the cover on it and the wind hit it and just it was pretty intense. I think everything's fine, but
what side of the house is that on?
So it sits on
the west
back
side?
of my deck. Yeah, it sits on the west side. The wind was coming from the south and it just fell right over. It was crazy.
That makes sense. All my stuff's on the north side.
But it's done that a couple of times. I need to come up with a better system, obviously.
Yeah.
It's my own fault.
I've got a 55-gallon drum. It's that second drum from when we did Irv.
Mm-hmm.
That I came home and it was in the middle of the street.
Yeah.
When I got home off from work.
It was crazy. It was like hurricane force winds here in the middle of the mountain valleys. It was insane. But anyway, besides the weather.
Oh man, Mike just had a birthday.
I did.
Happy birthday, Mike.
Thank you.
Everyone comment, shout out Mike, send him some birthday love. But the fact that we just started our Saturday morning talking about the weather, I think makes us official old men.
We need to shift this to old dudes with smokers instead of fat guys with smokers.
I know. I need to shave my beard. It's getting a little white.
Yeah, I like it. Well, what's going on in the comments?
Well, I can tell you yesterday I had to shut notifications off on my phone because of you. More specifically because of Damon.
Okay, listen. I feel like I didn't get a chance to talk about this because I think the episode right after it we were doing the Danny had a little lamb or whatever and I just didn't. So I spent hours and days thinking about the stupid Valentine's reel that I put out. Right? I'd planned it out. I worked on my dance moves. And then the next week, I was just going to throw some ribs on the smoker. And my boy Damon was like, hey, can I help? And I was like, heck yeah, dude. And he's like, hey, do you want to video me? And I was like, yeah, that's fine. So I'd show him how to do everything. And then he did it right behind me. And it was way cool, a really cool experience. We had a lot of fun. And he took ownership of it. And it was fun to see him get excited about it. And then the next day, he's like, are you going to put that on your Fat Guys with Smokers page? Are you going to share that reel? And I was like, yeah. I don't know. I didn't want to, exploit my child for views, But he was, at it, Dad, please, please. So I threw together that footage of him in, maybe 20 minutes. And Whitney picked a really good song to put it on, and it has blown up.
Well, yeah, so you put it on, and the first, couple of days, it went, I'm going to call it viral. I'm sure real influencers aren't going to call it viral.
Small-scale viral, I would say.
But it had 13,000 views.
Yeah.
It hit 13,000 accounts.
Uh-huh.
And then out of nowhere, it started Thursday night,
mm-hmm.
and literally all day Friday, my phone almost died at the office because it was buzzing so much. It shut off my notifications and had to plug my phone in. And I haven't looked this morning. I'll look right now. But it was over 15,000 views last night.
Excuse me. Yeah, I was telling John, Damon was way too into Dad, how many views do I have now? The first time that I haven't told him that it's kind of going through a resurgence right now, but it's been fun, and it was, it really was authentic footage. He really did everything. The knife part got a little sketchy. We got some comments about that. But while rude and poor language was used, the guy brought up some legitimate points. But anyway, it was a good time. So if you haven't seen it, go check it out. I would imagine
you're not going to believe
if you follow us, you've seen it.
16,000 plays.
What?
Yeah.
I checked last night. It was like 13.8 or something.
I'm looking at it right now. 16,315 plays, man.
There it is, man. Which, again, to a real influencer is like, well, that didn't do very well. But most of our reels reach like 200 people. So,
yeah. So for context, you're at 16,000 views. That's just shy of 16,000 accounts reached on Instagram. My Costco reel that we were excited about is at 14,000. Our next most popular post is Valentine's Day, Shake It While You Got It, Mike, at 1487.
Oh my gosh. See, and that's infuriating. I worked so hard on that, and it was cringy and dumb, but again, I threw Damon's together in 10-15 minutes just so he'd quit bugging me, and it has just exploded. So,
well, and I haven't even seen an announcement about it, but I keep getting invites from some of the other accounts I follow on my personal page for let me see if I can figure out what it's called. It's a broadcast station, broadcast channel.
What does that mean?
I have no idea.
Oh.
Never miss an update with broadcast channels. Keep up to date with your favorite creators. Contribute to the conversations. Admins can moderate the conversation. I don't know.
Like a group or something?
Yeah, it almost looks like a group chat. So we may have to set one of these up for Fat Guys with Smokers.
Oh, yeah.
Social media, folks.
I hate it so much. I'm learning a lot.
I hate it, but I also want to know so much about it.
Yeah.
Like,
I feel like it's the way of the future. Like marketing, nobody watches commercials anymore, but you'll see ads on Facebook and YouTube.
It's funny. We were talking about the type of shows that Haley and I normally watch, and like part of it is like Haley likes watching light and funny, but she also wants to be. She likes to scroll through her gardening posts on Instagram. You look at my posts, and that's barbecues, stupid dad jokes, and other things. And then Haley's is gardening and chicks, and chicks is in cluck cluck chicks. Let's make sure we don't confuse anybody here on the old YouTube and podcast channels.
Yeah.
But I guess, how are the chicks doing, Mike? You got chicks?
I did. I got chicks for the first time. We've been thinking about it for a long time, and finally pulled the trigger.
$75 a dozen for eggs. It becomes economical.
Yeah, it seemed like it. So it's fun. The kids are having a good time, and they're all still alive. So we only got 6, but I don't know. We'll see. I'm not sure. I've talked to a lot of people, done a lot of research, so I don't feel like I'm just like, yeah, I guess I'll be a farmer now. Like I have a pretty good idea of what it's going to take, but I'm pretty excited so far.
Oh man, Haley loves her chickens.
Yeah. And you just got them like during COVID, right?
Yeah, so our first flock we got right at the very beginning of COVID. Like it was, the kids aren't going to be at school. Like this will be a fun project for them. And my middle boy Robbie loves them. Like he loves his chicks. Charlie's not into it. Like they're a little too dirty for him. But we're on to our second flock this year that Haley's got her chicks. They're in the bathroom across the hall here, chirping away, and she's all excited for him. Even the kids, we went to the Costco's, as Clay would say yesterday, and halfway through, Mom, can we check on the chicks? And she's like, we're not at home. Like, that's going to be no, on your phone. And she's got a Wise Cam on her chickens. And
that's awesome.
He sat there and like looked at him and counted them. And like, he was loving it.
Oh, that's good.
Yep. So, hey, let's do a shout out. Who you got, Mike?
I got Swine Life. Mark Williams from Swine Life.
That's a great name.
Yeah, right? Isn't it amazing? They've got, so full disclosure, they are a barbecue competition team, but they do a lot, and I don't know if they work with my hero and role model, Malcolm Reed, or if they're just really good friends. But so that's kind of how I first got turned on to him, is watching a lot of Malcolm Reed videos. He was in a couple of them featured. And then I realized he had his own channel. He's the one that really got me into the Grilla, because that's what he uses for most of what he cooks. And so I watched a lot of his videos to kind of see if I liked it and stuff. But I like he's just kind of my style. Like, it's not super fancy, crazy meats. It's very simple stuff you could do with your young family, with limited time. Here's how you would do it. He's got a few videos on there about how to make really good burgers on a pellet grill and stuff like that. So anyway, I really like him. They've also got some rubs available as well, like their I should have written down the names of them. I can't remember, but if you look up Swine Life, I know Mississippi Grit and Mississippi Grind, I think, are the two big ones that they use. And one is like an AP rub, and the other is kind of a sugary type of rub. But anyway, like his videos, like what he does. Awesome name. So Swine Life, Mark Williams.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, today we're going sides.
Yep.
Which I'm kind of excited about.
I am excited because I am looking forward to learning a lot from you. I've done a few sides that I have enjoyed, but my family has not. So I kind of want to get some ideas. And if you guys have ideas as well, please feel free to comment on the YouTube page. I feel like that's the easiest way to comment. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't think a lot of people have used it, but I feel like that's the easiest way to comment and let us know.
Unless we figure out a broadcast channel.
That's true. That apparently exists.
Yeah.
Like,
no. Hit us on the YouTube channel, or just shoot us a DM on Instagram.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's true. I just learned what a DM was like a few months ago, so I'm a social media novice. Also, I noticed on the YouTube video, I look pissed all the time. And I've always been told that my whole life, but I was watching it and I just look so disinterested the whole time, just like, I don't want to be here. That's just my face. Like, I'm not trying to be rude or that's just how I look. If I had $1 for every time somebody's come up to me and said, "Smile, is everything okay?" And I'm just like, yeah, everything's fine. So anyway, please don't be concerned about my mental health. I'm living the dream right now, but I look very upset. So
he's well fed.
Yep.
He had a Moab this morning.
I did.
He's got caffeine within arm's reach.
Indeed I do.
Maverick, we haven't forgotten about you. Don't forget about us.
True that.
Yeah, and I told Haley we were doing sides, and she said no. I was like, what? And she's like, I am not getting back on that podcast with you.
Rude. She did such a good job.
Well, and she's really, like, she is the heart and soul of the sides at our house for the most part. I spend a lot of time worrying about the big protein and, what we're going to do. And then she comes up with these great sides. Mm-hmm. But Haley is not here today. Everyone, please send her just a little bit of grief in the comments so that she knows how much she is missed, and we'll get her back on soon.
And probably how much she'd add to the conversation.
It's true.
For sure.
But Haley, I think it's fair to say it's famous at this point, because as many people ask me to cook, immediately follow it up, but can Haley make her mac?
I've heard several people say that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She makes some awesome mac and cheese.
Mm.
And makes it and then throws it out on the smoker to firm up, and it gets not a ton of smoke, but like just enough of a kiss of smoke that it's awesome.
I feel like you could over smoke mac and cheese a little bit to where it's,
yeah,
I don't know, bitter is the right term, maybe.
Yeah, and if your grill is dirty,
yeah,
that's a real challenge. Like it is better to take a couple of minutes and clean the grill between your protein and putting your mac and cheese out there than putting it out if you've got, like, if you've done chicken wings, or, we did it one time and I had cooked, I think, 2 pork shoulders and a couple of racks of ribs, and I had sauced them, and there was all that like extra sauce down on the drip pan.
Mm-hmm.
And I cranked it up to 300 to set the mac and cheese, and sure enough, like, you got that nasty burnt, like, sooty smoke instead of the good flavored smoke.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I ruined that mac. Wasn't what she did, it was what I did.
Yeah.
So
I did that over the Super Bowl with some queso I was trying to make, and I did not clean my grill, and the exact same thing happened. It was disgusting because it just had that gross, sooty is a good word for it. So
yeah, make sure you clean your grill, or buy a second grill so you have one for sides, like I did.
There we go. That's a good idea. So you just keep that one pretty clean then, and no drippy or anything.
Yeah.
Like
So
that.
my little Traeger, the one that I started with, it lives in the garage and it gets pulled out front a lot, and I rarely cook meat in it. Sides are in it. We do cream cheese in it all the time. Like things that you really need a clean pan. Like, you could pull it out. You could bake cookies in it because it's so clean.
And it just stays clean because nothing's dripping on it. Huh?
Yep.
I like that. That's a good idea.
So, yeah, if you're going to use it enough, highly, highly recommend it. But a couple of things with the mac and cheese that I asked Taylor this morning, like, should I give everyone your recipe? And she's like, well, I don't know. I mean, it's not that it's that secret of a recipe. It's kind of like our coleslaw recipe. I'll tell that story in a minute. But she found one online and she's tweaked it a little bit. So if you want the recipe, there's a theme to everything we're saying today. Comment or send us a DM.
Oh, there we go.
We want the interaction, people. We're gonna drive it.
It's getting real boring if we just have to come up with everything.
But there are a couple of things that I think are really important with mac and cheese that we've learned that I will share. The first is don't use pre-shredded cheese.
Yeah, I saw you say that on here. Why is that?
So, and like, when you think about it, this will make sense. If think about shredded cheddar cheese, it's kind of got that like white powder on it.
Yeah, almost like floury looking.
Yeah, so they put an anti-clumping agent in there so that it's there.
So it doesn't all stick together.
Which is fine when you put it on top of your enchiladas, your nachos, whatever. It melts down under really high heat. The cheese is like the main driver of like the creaminess in the sauce on mac and cheese.
Right.
And that like anti-clumping powder like just gets real gritty. Like your sauce never gets smooth.
Yeah.
So
because of that anti-clumping thing, huh?
Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah, and we learned that the hard way. Like we just used shredded cheese all the time and like couldn't figure out, and finally Haley went and did her research and found out that anti-clumping stuff just never really breaks down in sauces.
So what do you use? Do you just get a brick?
Get a brick and get out the old food processor, and I mean, you could use a box grater or whatever you wanted, but it's a lot of cheese to...
Yeah. You put it in a food processor? I never would have thought of that.
Well, it's like a food processor like your mom has. Like, it's got the blade in it.
Right.
Or it also has an attachment that it'll slice, it'll grate. So
See, we got a food processor for our wedding. That's the only food processor I've ever used, and it like doubled it a blender, and all it has is a knife. I didn't know there were other attachments.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, this one's it has that knife to like chop stuff up. It's got a dough blade, it's got a slicer, it's got a shredder. Yeah.
And you just kind of
Yep, and from the top push it down.
That's awesome. I'm gonna have to hit that up.
Yeah. So it's it's super handy especially when we're doing like 10 pans of this stuff.
Yeah.
When we do, big group events or something, and you've got to shred 8 pounds of cheese, like that'll wear an arm out.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like, man, just one brick of cheese is like, okay, like this sucks. Interesting.
Yep.
Okay.
So, and I think her recipe's got like 2 or 3 pounds of cheese in a big pan.
Do you ever use Velveeta for that?
Not, she hasn't. I mean, I've used Velveeta for other things.
But it doesn't have the anti-clumping, obviously, so that's not an issue.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not even sure Velveeta's real cheese, but it's good.
That's kind of what I've heard. It's kind of fake, but
it's good. Can't argue that.
Yep. I'll eat it.
So, yeah. So that's what we do, and then you put breadcrumbs on top of it and kind of crisp it up, and gives a little extra texture in there. I think it's fun to play around with the breadcrumbs. Like, you don't just have to use panko breadcrumbs.
What have you used?
I think I haven't tried this, but I really want to. You and I talked about using pork rinds.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Want to try that? We have used potato chips before when we didn't have breadcrumbs.
Oh.
Used Doritos, nacho cheese Doritos.
Dude. That's a great idea.
It was baller. I could see,
man,
if you were a big like Flamin' Hot Cheeto fan, I bet that could be pretty good too.
Pretty good. See, my mom used to do not baked mac and cheese, but she would do like we call them funeral potatoes. I don't know what the rest of the world calls them. Au gratin potatoes?
Yeah, something like that. I don't know.
Anyway, she'd put cornflakes. It was fine, but this sounds way better. Like, it sounds like there's other options out there.
I mean, yeah, I don't know where I was going with that.
Okay. Right on. Well, I appreciate you sharing that with us.
I was going to say. Awesome. Yeah, funeral potatoes. There's like, we talked about I've got some potatoes on here too. And we talked about this, like, maybe we should just save potatoes, because I think there's a whole episode to talk about potatoes and all the things you can do about them. I
agree. And I'd like to research it more as well. I'm sure there's a lot of stuff we don't even know.
Yeah. All right. So mac and cheese. Let's talk about it. I'm going to get hate for it. I know I will. I don't really care. My family hates them. I love Brussels sprouts.
Yeah.
Like, hardcore love Brussels sprouts. I will cook up Brussels sprouts at 9:00 at night just to have some Brussels sprouts, because I like them that much.
Yeah. I don't think I ever ate Brussels sprouts until I was an adult. But did you ever see Ernest Scared Stupid?
I haven't.
It's a classic. But they have these little pods that the trolls like grow from. And Ernest called them like Brussels sprouts. And they're like slimy and disgusting. And I've always avoided them. And then I tried them as an adult, and I was like, these are pretty good. Well, so, anyway.
I think a lot of times that's what people think of Brussels sprouts. They like think of like whatever the garbage is that comes out of a can. Or nasty, over-steamed, like mushy, soggy Brussels sprouts that you had as a kid at elementary school.
Yes.
And those are not good.
Yeah.
Hardcore pass.
So how do you do it so that they're not gross?
First of all, Brussels sprouts are just code for give me bacon.
I like where this is going.
Yeah, because there are a couple of different ways you can do them. I'll tell you the way that I want to try and do them this summer. But you take Brussels sprouts that are still on the stalk.
I've never even seen them on the stalk.
So Have you seen a picture of like how Brussels sprouts grow though?
Nope.
So it is a stalk, and they're like these little bulbous parts that are the Brussels sprouts.
You said bulbous.
Bulbous. That grow up the side of the stalk.
Okay.
And you can wrap them in bacon and put them on the grill and cook them wrapped in bacon on the grill.
The whole stalk.
The whole stalk. Like you just wrap the Brussels sprouts, and then when you eat them, you cut the Brussels sprouts off.
I have never seen this before. It looks like a tree with zits all over it. Holy cow. That's wild.
Yeah. So Winco here locally always sells them on the stalk.
Okay.
So I want to try that. But
you wrap the whole stalk in bacon?
No, just the Brussels sprouts.
Oh, gotcha.
Like each of the... So those individual zits you wrap in bacon because bacon solves acne.
Right. Huh.
But so the way that I've done it is take one of your handy dandy foil pans, chop up bacon, put that out, cook the bacon. Now you've got a pan full of bacon grease. Put some onions in. Kind of get those caramelized and brown.
In your pan.
Okay. And then I take the Brussels sprouts, and I've cut them in half at this point, and I throw them in there and kind of saute them in bacon grease with onions.
Oh.
And then when you serve them, you kind of let them crisp up, let the edges kind of char a little bit, and then you serve them with bacon and onions.
Oh, wow.
And they're fantastic. If you want to get fancy, a balsamic glaze, drizzle it over the top of them is like gangbusters.
That sounds really good.
Yeah. But even at night, like, you don't even need a smoker for this. Air fried Brussels sprouts. You cut them in half, toss them in a little oil, hit them with a barbecue rub or just salt and pepper. Throw them in the air fryer for like 5 minutes, just so that, again, that outer layer starts to brown up and kind of char a little bit. And then you glaze them with balsamic, and man, it's like popcorn. I mean, it's not like really popcorn, good. But it's friggin' delicious.
Right. Huh.
So
good, and good for you, probably, maybe.
I mean, bacon grease, I mean, helps them go down.
Yeah, there you go. It's got to be healthy, right?
Yeah. So, mac and cheese, we've talked about Brussels sprouts now. Oh, you said that you did something similar, though. I
did, yeah. So I saw, I think it was Heath Riles on YouTube did this. And he put, I think it was Brussels sprouts. I tried it with asparagus. But he put them just in a pan on the smoker, and then on the top rack, he put bacon. So as the bacon cooked, it like basted the Brussels sprouts underneath. So I did this with some chicken thighs, and then I put some asparagus on, and it was really good. And it just kind of, once the bacon was done, I mean, obviously I took it off, and then I crumbled it up and put it in with this stuff. But man, it was really good, and just kind of basted it as it cooked. That bacon grease would fall on the chicken, because sometimes chicken can dry out when you're cooking it. There's not a lot of fat on it. So that added the fat to it. It was some of the best chicken I've ever had, and the asparagus turned out really good too.
That sounds fantastic.
It was really good. Just sprinkled. I just put like some salt, pepper, garlic on. I think that's all I put on the chicken, and then I just sprinkled it on the asparagus with some Parmesan cheese, and then the bacon drippings that just kind of cooked it. Man, it was good. It was really good. So that's all right. Tell us about coleslaw, John.
Coleslaw. This is about as simple as it comes. The secret here is you have to buy McCormick celery seed.
McCormick celery seed?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Because the recipe is on the side of the McCormick celery seed. And it's funny. My mother-in-law, She's such a good woman. And she hasn't killed me yet. Um, we had only been married, I don't know, a couple of years, and Haley had started making this coleslaw. This was like Haley's first side that she was really, really into, was this. And her mom was like, "Oh, this is so good. Like, can I get the recipe?" And I was like, "Oh, it's from the McCormick side." And she's like, "Oh, is it like a family recipe?" And being the smart aleck that I am, immediately was like,
Yes,
yep,
that's my grandma.
It's from the McCormick side. And Haley, like 5 minutes into this conversation, like, as I'm getting asked all about the McCormick side, comes in and she hands her mom the bottle and she says, "It's from the side of the McCormick bottle."
That's awesome.
Yeah. Sorry, Mom. It was fun. But yeah, it's coleslaw, mayonnaise, apple cider vinegar, and celery seed.
I've never used celery seed.
I hadn't either until we started making coleslaw. When we started, pulled pork was the first thing that I really made with any success and any frequency. And there are few things better than a pulled pork sandwich with coleslaw on it.
Yeah. Which I thought was wild when I first saw until I tried it.
Good.
Oh, it's so good. The creamy and yeah, it's good.
Yep. Yeah, just you buy the coleslaw mix, like, so it's all pre-cut up and ready to go, and yeah. That's awesome.
Right on.
And then beans, Mike.
Dude.
I'm looking at the show notes, and the last thing on here on your list is beans, exclamation point.
Yeah. Beans. Exclamation point. Because they deserve an exclamation point.
Hey, man, I'd named my dog after him. Yeah. So.
Honestly, I had seen a lot of stuff about beans. The first time I tried to cook them was with you, actually. Up when we were doing that girls' camp.
Oh, just this summer?
Yeah. Like, I'd looked into them. Nobody at my house will eat them, so I didn't want to make a huge pot for me.
Oh, man.
I
easy, love baked beans.
Delicious. So.
Yeah, the secret to baked beans is buying canned baked beans and then doctoring them up.
Right. And you look at videos on YouTube, that's what everybody does. It's not, you can soak them or whatever, but it takes 5 seconds to pop a can open. So, and they're simple and they're delicious. And
yeah, and you can take a, $1.50 can of Bush's baked beans, add some barbecue sauce, some pulled pork, and a jalapeno, and you can elevate the crap out of that $1.50.
Yeah. Well, and we added, what did we add? We added extra bacon. We had some onions, some red pepper.
Yeah, and I think like that's the best part is like it literally is just like whatever you got left, like throw it in.
Yeah. A lot of these guys that I watch from the South, they're like, this is just how we grew up. Like, if we were cooking something on the grill, the beans were off to the side just simmering the whole time, all day. Yep. And I'm sitting here thinking, like, what weird but delicious things could you throw in beans? Like, I've thrown in some leftover pulled pork, stuff like that. But I'm wondering if there's...
like what the weird but delicious
is. Yeah, the weird but delicious. I'm sure it exists, but... So if you have a pulled pork or what are we talking about?
Baked beans.
A beans recipe. Let us know what weird but delicious stuff you put in it. That'd be good.
No. All right, I've got a couple more things on my list, and then we'll probably wrap up here. The one that I've got on here for potatoes. I was on a business trip. We were in Canada. We ended up in Guelph, which...
That's an awesome name.
It's a weird name.
Guelph?
Yeah. Guleph, I think. Guelph. And it's actually, it's kind of a cool little town. It's a college town. So it's very like it felt a lot like home, like being
Mm-hmm.
here in northern Utah in our little Cache Valley here. And we went to. I tried to look it up. I think. Oh, it just disappeared. This is why you never trust technology.
Let that be a lesson to you. Everybody listen to our podcast on technology. Never trust it.
It just disappeared on me because I don't think it was bin 23. Was it this one? I think it was the Albion bar.
Okay.
Not really important.
In Guelph.
In Guelph.
So all of our Guelph listeners, let us know if we got the bar correct or not.
I know. I may actually. She's retired now, but I may text one of the ladies that I worked with, up in Canada, to ask her where this was. But we went to this. It felt like a really like old dive bar.
Mm-hmm.
And we went in and we like walked way to the back of this restaurant, and it was really dark, hard to see.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of the best meals I've ever had.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They had a bunch of wild game on the menu. Like, there was like a boar sausage, and like my dinner was an elk tenderloin.
Oh.
With some sort of sauce over the top of it. But they had these potatoes that it was a sweet potato.
Okay.
That was sliced like paper thin, and they had different colored sweet potatoes, so like it was like visually it was very attractive.
Mm-hmm.
But it was the stack of sweet potatoes with a cream sauce, like not quite au gratin or lyonnaise, but like it was like scalloped potatoes.
Okay.
There you go. But it was a heavier and sweeter cream than like normal scalloped potatoes are. And dude, it was fantastic.
Really?
Just this like creamy, sweet, soft, velvety potato.
Ooh.
That I have been trying to replicate for, I don't know, 8 years.
Yeah.
That it like.
How's your replication coming?
It's getting close.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever cooked sweet potatoes. Do you cook them first and then slice them paper thin, or do you slice them paper thin?
No, so and I mix mine like with regular potatoes and sweet potatoes.
Okay.
So it's like your yellow potatoes give it a little more structure. The sweet potatoes are a little creamier, and my phone's going off. I'll call you later, Dad.
What's up, mate?
But yeah, it's a real heavy cream, a lot of heavy cream, butter, a little bit of garlic. I think the secret is I've been playing around with cinnamon or nutmeg, just like a little bit, that kind of pulls some of the flavor of the sweet potato out.
Interesting.
But you pair that with a really like rich red meat, and it's.
So I'm picturing like almost like mashed potato-y type.
It's not
flavor.
Yeah, except it's not mashed quite. Yeah. Like they're soft and you can cut them with a fork, but it's still that sliced potato.
But a creamy and interesting. Yeah. I've never even heard of this. But
I'll have to maybe I'll make them, put them on the gram.
Yeah.
Because I don't think I'm doing a good job describing it.
I mean, I think you're doing a great job because I don't want to hurt your feelings, but I still have no idea what it's supposed to look like.
Watch the gram, folks. It's they were like delicious.
Yeah.
Like still 8 years ago, like I'm still trying to like hit this recipe the right way. But I think that's like one of the cool things about sides, and we haven't really talked about this necessarily, but getting your sides to pair with your entree, and like those potatoes elevated the elk.
Yeah.
Like,
well, and it's like you said, the coleslaw and the pulled pork. I mean, it just makes that pulled pork just that much better. Like if you get the right side with the right protein, like it literally is a game changer. Like it completely changes the taste. Maybe it's just the perspective at which you approach it, but yeah, it can be really good.
Yeah,
for sure.
Cool. The last thing on here, and this is another thing that probably deserves its own episode, is dessert. I took my first swing at this maybe 2 weeks ago, and I failed. I really want to have just a killer banana pudding recipe.
On the smoker?
No, I'm not going to smoke my banana pudding.
I was going to say, I don't know that.
I mean, I guess you could smoke the heavy cream that you use to make it.
Nah, I feel like we're grasping there. I think it would just be.
Well, I did a caramel apple pie once upon a time, and I smoked cream that we made into ice cream and put on top of the apple pie.
How was it?
Oh, dude.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
I had actually forgotten all about that until I just said smoked cream.
Yeah.
And now I want to go smoke cream.
I should experiment a little more with desserts, because in my mind, like, you have your smoked stuff and then you have your desserts. But I really like smoked cream cheese. So
yeah. Yeah, and you don't want it overpowering, but I feel like one, I love banana pudding. It's delicious. Everything about it is wonderful.
Yeah.
But I don't have a great recipe, and I feel like that's a very like classic barbecue dish. Every barbecue joint I've ever gone to has had banana pudding.
My sister-in-law makes some of the best banana pudding I have ever had in my life. I should connect her recipe with you, because I don't know where she got it. Some place in New York that's like really fancy for their banana pudding. Like people wait in line for days. And she found a copycat recipe, and it is
I need that.
One of the best things I've ever had.
I was gonna say, I tried the Magnolia bakery
recipe. That sounds right, but I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, like Chip and Joanna Gaines Magnolia.
Probably.
They've got a bakery. I think they've got one in New York, so maybe.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking.
That the hard part about it is just it's not a like make it and eat it recipe. It's a make it and then it's got to sit, and then do this and then it's got to sit.
Right.
And that's really hard. I mean, the other problem is like one of my boys will eat banana pudding. I'll eat banana pudding. I keep saying pudding. I know it's pudding. I'm sorry.
Pudding sounds.
Deal with it.
Ooh. John. Wow.
Yeah. I looked like right at the camera
banana
too with that.
Changed you, man. Holy cow.
Yeah, I don't know what. We're having one of those mornings.
Yeah.
But you make it, and then I've got this giant bowl of banana pudding with fresh bananas in it, and fresh bananas just don't last very long.
Right.
So, I mean, I should probably be like a good neighbor and just take some around. But
yeah, I know a guy that would polish some off for you, but whatever. It's fine. Just let it go bad. Yell at the camera and let your bananas go bad. That's fine.
Yeah. So that's one of the sides that I really want to. That's the other thing about in the South, pudding's not just a dessert. Like that goes on the table with the meal, so it can be a side.
Interesting.
So I would love to have a good banana pudding recipe.
Yeah.
That I was good at making.
Sure.
So Anything else you got on your list? Did we hit all your stuff?
No, a lot of my stuff has to do with Dutch oven, which I feel like would be its own episode. So, Dutch oven cobbler, Dutch oven potatoes, and I feel like there's so much you could do with it.
Yep.
We wouldn't be able to do it justice and without its own thing. So,
yeah,
maybe
Dutch oven cobblers. That Dutch oven cobbler is actually where I think we talked about this.
Yeah,
but
my whole kind of what you were known for.
My whole story starts with cake mix, peach cobbler, and a Dutch oven.
That's kind of where I started in high school too. So, yeah.
Alrighty.
TBD. No. To be continued. TBD means to be determined.
All right. Well, before Mike and I say anything else that seems silly and dumb this morning, I guess we'll wrap it up.
Yeah.
So until next time, I'm John.
And I'm Mike.
And we're Fat Guys with Smokers. Thanks for listening to the Fat Guys with Smokers podcast. Be sure to check us out on Instagram and Facebook. Leave us a comment. We'd love to hear from you. Be sure to subscribe so you don't forget to tune in for even more nonsense from a couple of Fat Guys with Smokers.
Don't forget to like, subscribe.